Okay, Battlefield 5, just loaded it up, and we got the game set to 4K. Should we start out at low or should we start out at ultra? You know what, let's start out at ultra, and let's get searching for a match here while I'm talking. So we're starting out at ultra, we're at 4K, this is an RX 6800 XT, and on Battlefield 5, I tested it out last night, I was able to get, at ultra settings 4K, over 100 frames per second almost all the time. I would occasionally drop into the 90s, and that may have even been a CPU issue that was dropping me into the 90s. So I'm only on an i5 9600K right now, which is one reason why I'm playing this at 4K rather than at a lower resolution. Let's hop in here. See the frame rate counters and the CPU and GPU usage in the top right corner of the screen. Okay, so it's looking like I'm over 70 frames per second here, which is, yeah, down into the 60s. This is about half, maybe about 60, 70% of what I was getting in Battlefield 5 at these settings. Just glancing around, I mean, the visuals might look a little better, but I wouldn't say it seems like mind-blowingly different for the frame rate difference I'm getting. I think the foliage and the trees and things do look maybe a little more realistic. Got the tank coming in. Currently does not appear to be a CPU limit, although we do see it occasionally spike up to 100% usage. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings again. So that was at ultra. Let's go down to high. Let me make sure that VSync's not enabled. Battlefield 5 kept turning that on. Okay, yeah, that's disabled. That's good. Okay, so going down to high. We're still in the 60s and 70s. Doesn't seem that different. Could blame it on a CPU, but the CPU's not pegged at 100%. GPU's still at 98%. So we do see the CPU spike to 100% usage, but the GPU usage is staying pretty much near max. So I think we're still mostly GPU bottlenecked, although the CPU is right up there as well. Hoping to at least get into a little combat and not die instantly to kind of benchmark that. Jump that. Let's drop down to medium, see what happens. Enemy forces control sector Echo. Okay, we're up into the mid 70s. Okay, like looking back this way, you can see that my frame rate counter is up more like 80, even 90. So it really does depend on the scene you're looking at. And again, this is 4K. If you're wondering why am I testing a competitive game at 4K, well, I think if I went down to 1080p or 1440p, I would just instantly be CPU bottlenecked. You can see already right now, going down to 4K medium settings, my CPU is almost bottlenecking the GPU. GPU usage is still at, like right there we saw it drop down because I think I hit a CPU spike, but it is for the most part hovering around 97, 98, 99% usage on the GPU, with just a few spikes where the CPU becomes the limit. I'm getting a new processor soon. It's actually just got the Amazon notification that it's in the mail, 5950X. I don't know if I'll be able to get that build, all the parts for the build before this beta is over, but if I do, I can do another video where I test it out on that CPU at lower resolutions. Is C still heal? No, is C like crouch and slide? There's definitely some recoil happening on the guns here. So again, we're currently at 4K medium. Seeing some combat. What's that? Was he on like a grappling hook or something? Am I running out of ammo? No, I could try going down to 4K low, but to be honest, Seems pretty CPU bottlenecked right now, so I'm not sure we'd get much out of that. We could at least see the visual difference, though. How about while I'm dying here, we go ahead and switch to 4K low. Anybody able to help, or should I just respawn? Somebody in that car? Is that somebody who could save me? Is that an enemy? I can't tell. Yeah, probably an enemy. Hold space to skip and deploy. I was trying to right click. That's what it was in Battlefield 5, wasn't it? Ooh. Wow, great spawn. Guess I was just standing in the open shooting. Not the best move. Alright, so this is again, we're at 4K low. I think I'm just going to skip and respawn. Yeah, CPU usage is definitely near max here. GPU usage is still pretty high, so it's still kind of a combination. You're able to get into the 70s and 80s. So I'm pretty confident I could be getting a lot higher frame rates at 1440p if I wouldn't just hit a CPU bottleneck. So once again, the reason why I'm not going to try that was over 100 frames per second here at 4K low. Again, it's going to depend on the exact scene. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and I'm at bouncing around between like 80 and 100 frames per second. CPU's getting pushed hard, but it still looks like mostly a GPU limit, occasionally a CPU limit. Like I said, I get as good or better performance to these settings at 4K Ultra on Battlefield 5, and I've got to say, this doesn't look that much better to me. I mean, considering I'm at the low settings now, but to get equal frame rates, I could be at ultra settings and actually probably getting better frame rates on Battlefield 5. Now I will mention this is in early release. Let's go back to the highest settings again. So this is a beta. So if this is based on a... Oh, kill me while I'm changing graphics settings? Not fair, dude. Anyway, the point is a beta is probably based on an older build of the game. So hopefully by launch we see better optimization, because I mean, I get that I'm playing at 4K, but it's just comparing to Battlefield 5 what appears to be the visual upgrade. Like, look, I'm at ultra settings now and I'm dropping below 60 frames per second. And Battlefield 5, I could be at 4K Ultra, rarely dropping below 100 frames per second. Ah, can I get out of that? Don't kill me, dude. Alright, well anyway, I woke up early this morning to test this out before going to work, so maybe I need to end my video and actually get ready, you know, to go to my real job. Having fun, though. Hey, yeah, there's my alarm. That's my actually should wake up alarm. I woke up earlier to film the video, so that should be a good time to end it. Hope this was useful info for you guys. If I get a better CPU up and running before the beta ends, we'll test this out at lower resolutions on a better processor and see what we could do. Have an excellent day.